British war communications back and forth around the globe, and that was as much as she wanted to know, given that loose lips sink ships. "I'm starving," Alice grumbled, finally pushing her book into her coat pocket. "I hope there's something in the house for tea." Violet laughed and gave her niece a quick hug. "Let's find out, love. Come on, work's over for the day. Let's head home." They began to walk across the narrow valley towards the little whitewashed cottage, one of a row going up the hill away from Porthcurno, where they'd been billeted during their stay in Cornwall. "At least the sirens only go off a few times a month down here, not every bleeding night like in Dagenham, eh, Mum?" Gran nodded. "We can't complain, that's for sure." It was 4 months since they'd left their home in the busy East End and taken the train down to sleepy Cornwall. Lily remembered how lovely it had been, waking up that first morning to birdsong and the lowing of cows on her great-aunt's farm, not another soul in sight outside. It had felt like a miracle, escaping the nightly bombardment of the Blitz, even if the price had been trudging the fields until all hours and learning to milk cows. But then her great-uncle had tried it on with her, and they'd been forced to leave Chellow Farm. Auntie Violet had been furious with Stanley for his nasty groping hands, and so had Gran when she'd come down to join them in Cornwall that summer. But to Lily's relief, nobody had blamed her for what happened. Except for Great-Aunt Margaret, of course. Left suddenly homeless, they'd been taken in by Hazel Baxter, now a widow expecting her second child, her husband having been killed in service while they were staying with the family. Hazel was a darling, but Lily wasn't so sure about her son, Charlie, who was younger than Lily and had an awkward crush on her. "Hang on a bit," George Cotterill called out as he closed up after them, and they stood waiting until he'd caught them up. Mr. Cotterill was their boss at Easton House. Well, not Gran's, because she was staying home these days to keep house, after he had kindly offered them jobs as cleaning staff at the base. He more or less ran the place, and since Hazel Baxter had been widowed, he'd been discreetly courting her. They intended to marry, though Hazel, who was showing her pregnancy now, kept putting off the wedding for one reason or another. Perhaps she wasn't keen on wedding another man while carrying her dead husband's baby, or maybe they couldn't agree on a date. All Lily knew was that Hazel's husband hadn't been very nice to her, and she hoped Hazel would be happier with George. "I thought I'd better check how you ladies are doing in the cottage," George asked, smiling uncertainly at Auntie Violet. "Got everything you need?" The cottage belonged to Easton House, but they had been allowed to move in there when things got overcrowded at Hazel's place. Violet nodded vigorously. "Right as rain, Mr. Cotterill. Me and Mum share one room and the girls share another. Snug as bugs in a rug." "I'm glad to hear that." George hesitated, frowning, then transferred his gaze to Lily. "I say, are you feeling all right, Lily?" He sounded concerned. "I'm fine, thank you," Lily said, looking hurriedly away. She had been feeling a little out of sorts lately, truth be told, restless and unhappy, but she did not want to discuss that with their boss. "It's all this diving underground whenever the siren goes off, Mr. Cotterill," her grandmother told him. "It's not natural. But this bracing Cornish air will soon set her to rights. Pretty young thing that she is." Gran stroked Lily's long fair hair, which she always said reminded her of Betsy, Lily and Alice's mum, though saying so only ever seemed to make her sad. "Not to mention her dinner, eh?" "Honestly, I'm not that hungry," Lily insisted. "I'll have Lily's dinner," Alice jumped in quickly. "I'm so famished, my stomach thinks my throat's been cut." They had nearly reached the barbed wire barricade at the bottom of the hill, and the guard had already shuffled out of his little hut to see who was coming. Just a moment, ladies." George cleared his throat loudly, and they all stopped, turning round to look at him. Even in the thickening light, Lily could see he was embarrassed. Their boss looked away towards the pale glimmer of sea, still visible between